I just knew I couldn't leave you guys hanging when I knew I could create something as gorgeous as this. Hi, I'm Ada. If you're new here, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we'll be discussing sewing tips on this structural attachment and this gorgeous turban. But first, let's start with the materials. For the turban, I mixed two different types of Ankara fabric. This was based off of my inspiration from the Virgo sign. I'm going to leave a link to the video in the description box, while I used the golden Ankara only for the structural attachment. For the turban, I also used this medium-sized wadding or felt interfacing to just give my turban some weight and structure to it without it being fili-fili. Then I used paper stay to give structure to my structural attachment, which was a bad idea because I had collar stay, but I don't know why I used the interfacing, because I just felt since I had boning to work out. But guess what? It did not. I used Ready-Lean boning for my structural attachment. You can use any type of boning of your choice, but I decided to go with the sewable boning. Then we need the matching thread and the pins, and that's all. Before you sew any headdress, like I've said in my previous Zara cap video, you take a measurement of your head circumference. However, you also take into account if you are going to be wearing that headgear on braids or on wig, so you give yourself a little bit of space. So my measurements were 23 inches plus extra 5 inches to account for the wadding space and also for braid attachment. Then my width was 14 inches, and when I place them on fold, it's going to give me 7 inches. Then I added 1 inch sewing allowance and removed all sewing allowances when I was cutting out my wadding interfacing. After that, all you need to do is to close the panels and flip them inside out. When they were flipped the right way out, you then go ahead and sew that opening close. Just like the tip I gave in my bustier tutorial, I'm going to leave that link as well. You make sure you attach or iron on your stones while it is still on a flat surface, because if you do any other sewing manipulation to it will not allow your fabric to be flat enough to be able to iron. So the first thing I did after closing everything up was to attach my stones and just put on my bling, accessories and whatever, because I need my fabric to be on a flat surface for me to attach the stones. So now that is done, you find the midpoint of your panels, and then you also make sure to note that the sewing or the seam line of your panel should be at the middle, not the other way around, because where you are going to place it on your head should be the curved part, not the sewing allowance, if you get what I'm saying. When you've positioned it properly, you are going to run a loose stitch. You are just going to gather that middle point of your panels. So as you don't gather your panel finish, so you will then flip it. I don't know, just watch. I don't know how to explain this. You are just simply going to cross it just like the way that I've shown, and then flip it upside down, pin these sides together and sew them with your machine. You can, if you feel that the fabric is too thick to sew it with your machine, you can also sew it by hand as well. Both are fine. As you can see, I was very excited at this point. It was already coming in nicely. When you're done with that, with a needle and thread, you will close the back and also gather the back of the cap with very loose stitches. So if you did everything right, it should look like this. You should have two different types of Ankara on one side, and I really loved it. At this point, I was trying to show you guys how it was gleaming, like the stones were just, it just felt like a star, like a bunch of stars on my head, and I really loved it.
Can you see how it's,
and it looks so great. For the structural attachment, it's very simple. You simply just need to line your fabric with your interfacing and run some boning on it. That's all, nothing much. My measurements were 12 inches by 54 inches because I really wanted it to be long. You have yourself 2 layers, put your interfacing, and then you run your bone stitches, your boning, then you run your boning along the full length of the structural attachment. So here I was just simply trimming them down because I wanted some parts to be smaller than the other, and for the bigger parts I was going to gather it at the front to just give it some design and pizzazz. Attached, the interfacing is attached, everything is attached. You will just then sew in your second fabric onto it and flip it inside out. Another tip I'll just give is that you make sure that where you are attaching your boning onto is the wrong part of the fabric. At this point I was so tired of sewing, so I just bone face and used glue gun to glue everything together. And that's another tip for me to you. If you feel you're tired of sewing, your hand is paining you, get you a glue gun and just seal it all together. It might give you a rough finish, but just take another tip from me. I just simply used applique to cover it. Shh, don't tell anybody. I just used applique to cover it, and nobody will know what you did. Nobody will know that you're a lazy tailor who just want to get done with this outfit and go and sleep. And with everything, it turned out beautiful. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram to catch up with me. Check out my channel for other videos, Ankara outfits inspired by the zodiac sign. Check them out, and other sewing tips from me to you. Bye.